SEX, one truck brand sold in Texas right now, scores so low on Consumer Reports' reliability index that it now sits below several electric vehicle startups still working out basic manufacturing issues on their very first production models. That is not a typo. And it is not a one-year fluke tied to a single bad model year. We start with three other brands heading in the exact same direction, and end with the one Consumer Reports currently ranks as the least reliable full-size truck sold in America today. Consumer Reports surveys hundreds of thousands of owners annually and scores brands on a 100-point reliability index based on reported problems across the ownership period, weighted by severity and frequency of the complaint. 4 truck brands sold across Texas dealerships this year all score in the 30s and low 40s, a range Consumer Reports itself describes as well below average for the entire segment. These are not obscure numbers buried in a footnote. They are published, current, and based on real owner complaints collected systematically rather than anecdotally. In fourth place, Rivian scores 44 out of 100 on Consumer Reports' most recent reliability index, the highest of the 4 brands on this list, which still places it well below the industry average for trucks of any kind, gasoline or electric. The R1T's biggest documented issues center on drive unit software glitches, causing intermittent loss of power delivery, a problem that understandably alarms owners when it happens at highway speed, along with body panel gaps and paint quality inconsistencies reported across multiple production years by owners comparing notes online. Repair access is limited outside major metro areas, and Rivian's own service network in Texas remains thin compared to legacy manufacturers, with decades of dealer infrastructure already in place, meaning a documented software fault can leave an owner waiting over a week for a service appointment in areas outside Austin, Dallas, or Houston. Resale values have already dropped sharply as a result, with some 2-year-old R1T models losing over 40% of their original value, reflecting both limited service infrastructure and genuine market uncertainty about the company's long-term stability as a relatively young automaker still scaling production. The next brand carries decades of brand loyalty built up over generations of Texas truck buyers, which makes its current reliability collapse even harder for longtime owners to reconcile with the badge's reputation. In third place, the Jeep Gladiator scores 41 out of 100, driven largely by persistent steering and suspension issues that have earned an unfortunate nickname among owners and mechanics alike: death wobble, a violent steering oscillation occurring at highway speeds, most often triggered by worn track bar bushings or steering damper failure that develops gradually until it becomes suddenly and alarmingly noticeable. Jeep issued multiple technical service bulletins addressing the issue without resolving it completely across all model years, meaning the fix that works for one owner's truck does not always resolve it for another. Manual transmission Gladiators additionally report clutch master cylinder failures occurring as early as 20,000 miles, an unusually low mileage for a component expected to last far longer, with repair costing close to $600. Consumer Reports notes that owner complaints about this specific steering issue have persisted across 3 consecutive model years without a confirmed permanent fix, which is precisely why buyers should treat any Gladiator test drive as an opportunity to specifically check for steering play and vibration at highway speed, rather than relying on a short parking lot loop around the dealership. Here is where the numbers get harder to justify with an "every brand has some issues" explanation that dealers sometimes offer when confronted with this kind of data. In second place, the Ram 1500 scores 38 out of 100, weighed down heavily by the 48-volt e-torque mild hybrid system, fitted to a large share of the current lineup across multiple trim levels. Owner complaints center on e-torque battery failures, occurring well within the expected ownership window, sometimes as early as 3 years into ownership, along with electrical gremlins affecting infotainment and climate control systems that Ram's own dealer network has struggled to diagnose consistently, often requiring multiple visits before the actual cause is identified. Repair costs for e-torque system failures frequently exceed $2,000 once the truck ages past the 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, a cost that catches many owners off guard, since the e-torque system was marketed primarily as a fuel economy feature, rather than something owners were warned might fail expensively. Consumer Reports has flagged the Ram 1500's electrical systems specifically as a recurring problem area across multiple consecutive model years. Not an isolated issue tied to one bad production run or a single supplier problem that was later corrected. And in first place, the single lowest reliability score of any full-size truck sold in America belongs to the Chevrolet Silverado, at 34 out of 100 on Consumer Reports' current index, a number that places it not just below its direct competitors, but below the entire truck segment average by a wide margin. The current generation Silverado's most widely reported issue involves the 5.3-liter V8's lifter and cam phaser components, with failures documented occurring as early as 40,000 miles in some cases, a repair that can exceed $4,000 when it involves cam phaser replacement, rather than just lifters. And that is a mileage figure well within what most owners would consider still new truck territory. Infotainment system freezes and backup camera failures round out the most commonly reported complaints, frequent enough that Chevrolet has issued multiple software updates, attempting to address them without fully resolving the underlying issue, according to continued owner reports even after the updates. GM's own warranty claims data shows engine-related claims on this generation running notably higher than the outgoing model it replaced, a pattern Consumer Reports specifically called out in its most recent reliability report as a step backward rather than an improvement, which is a notable admission, given how much engineering investment typically goes into each new generation of a flagship truck. Resale values have already begun reflecting the reputation shift, with CarEdge tracking faster than average depreciation on Silverado models built in the last 3 years, compared to the generation before it, suggesting that used car buyers and dealers alike are already pricing in the reliability concerns even before most owners hit higher mileage. Across all 4 of these brands, the pattern is consistent rather than coincidental, and that consistency is exactly what makes the data worth taking seriously. Complex electrical and hybrid systems introduced faster than manufacturers could fully validate them, combined with thin service networks or inconsistent dealer diagnostic capability, have produced reliability scores that sit measurably below where these same brands stood 5 years ago. This is not a case of one bad model year skewing an otherwise solid track record. Consumer Reports data spans multiple consecutive years for each of these 4 brands, which rules out a single production hiccup as the explanation. None of this means every individual truck from these 4 brands will fail, and it would be inaccurate to suggest otherwise. Reliability scores describe probability across a large population of vehicles, not certainty for any single truck. But when a buyer is choosing between 4 trucks scoring in the 30s and low 40s, and other trucks in the same price range scoring 70 or higher on the same index, the data makes that decision considerably easier and considerably cheaper over the life of the ownership period. If this breakdown changed the way you look at these 4 brands, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share it with someone shopping in this segment right now. Comment below with which one surprised you most.